Okay, so right off the bat, incredible thing happened. We were having a conversation, me and a Palestinian from the West Bank, from Judea and Samaria. And at first, we agreed to speak with me only using a different name for him, but he had no problem with showing his face and everything. But during our conversation, in the middle of our conversation, his internet was cut. And after he was like, he got like urgent phone calls from people. And a couple of moments later, he texted me saying that people have overheard us talking. They've overheard our conversation. And they basically cut his internet on purpose so that he cannot complete his conversation with me, which is a shame because I had many more questions. We actually started the conversation thinking it wouldn't be such a problem. So when we spoke while thinking that there will be no need to censor him or anything. But obviously, because of what happened, you will see my the person I'm conversing with. I will be using a different name for him, which is something that we agreed on. And I will be blurring his face and his voice, which is not something that we thought would be necessary. But, well, obviously it was. Hello, everyone. I'm here today with Ahmad. Ahmad is a Palestinian Arab living in Hebron, which is in the West Bank, or what many Israelis would refer to as Judea and Samaria. Ahmad is not my guest's real name. He has requested that I do not use his real name in this conversation. And we will be, well, basically me, a Zionist Israeli Jew, and Ahmad, a Palestinian. Are you Muslim, Ahmad?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so we will be, we'll see where this conversation takes us. So first of all, thank you so much for joining me. I want to tell our audience first how we even got to have this conversation. On my Hebrew channel, I actually own an Hebrew channel, an educational channel, and it's quite large for an Hebrew-speaking channel. There are not that many Hebrew speakers in the world, maybe like 9 million. So I've made a video that tells the entire story, the entire Palestinian narrative against Israel. That's basically, I have it, like, it's about a 40-minute video. It's on my Hebrew channel. And Ahmad here saw this video. He understood just about enough Hebrew in order to get the most of it. And he left a comment which prompted me to contact him. And here we are speaking. Now, Ahmad, do you want to tell us, first of all, what did you think about the video in which I attempted to explain your side of the narrative?
You know what? Whenever I see Israeli comments about any topic, I feel like I memorize everything almost. I know the main points that everyone keeps returning to. Whenever any conversation happens, I feel like I can predict what are they going to say. So when I saw your video, I felt the same thing in reverse. I felt like you understand our point of view very well, so I had to upload the video.
Well,
I thought you did a fantastic job.
Thank you so much. That's amazing to hear. Well, that has been my goal, right? To educate. So, yeah. So I'm glad to get this endorsement from you, of course. And one of the things that you've written in your comment is that you wish that the Palestinians would have a similar video that explains the Israeli narrative, basically. Right? So can you tell us a little bit about that?
You know what? Not just in the Palestinian-Israeli problem, in most conflicts around the world or disagreements about anything, I feel like the people on each side doesn't even know the basics of the other side's argument. If each one live in his own bubble, filled with his own propaganda, if you understand the other side's point of view, you would maybe sympathize with him. Maybe you can find a common ground. That's what I felt.
So is that okay if I ask you a couple of questions? And what I would like for you to do is to first tell me what you think, okay? And then tell me
Okay.
what you think the general sentiment among the Palestinian public is. It may
Okay.
be a bit of a generalization, but we'll try to do that. So the first thing I would like for you to do is to tell me, in your estimation, what is Zionism? Like, what does it mean to be a Zionist? What is the definition of the word?
Zionism, in my opinion, means what I think or what Palestinians
First,
think.
what you think, and then what Palestinians think in your estimation.
What I think is it means believing in Jewish inherent right for the land of Israel, as you call it, aside from any other nation. I mean, being a Zionist means that if you were born Jewish, you have the right to return, as you say, to the land of Israel. But a Palestinian, if he lives there, so he might be able to stay, but he doesn't have the same right.
Okay, so
By the way,
now
this is my first time ever speaking in English, a long conversation, so
now you're
I beg
doing
your pardon.
great. You're doing great. So, by the way, how common is it for Palestinians to be able to speak English in at your level?
At my level, not very common. We understand basic English. You can, I don't know, if you find a tourist in the street, you can help him, for example.
Okay.
But you can't hold a long conversation.
I'm going to repeat back to you what you told me about Zionism, okay? And tell me if I understood
Okay,
you
right.
correctly. So, from what I understood from your answer, is that the way you see Zionism is a sort of Jewish supremacy, in a sense, over a particular land. Like that if someone is born Jewish, then he has supreme right in this land, and if someone else is not Jewish, then, he doesn't have any rights. So do I get it about right?
Almost. I mean, before the establishment of Israel, the word meant believing in the dream of establishing the Jewish state. Now that it's there, being a Zionist means what you just explained.
Okay. Okay, that's actually quite interesting. I will try to tell you what most Israelis would answer if you ask them what Zionism is. Okay?
Okay, go ahead.
Most Israelis, if you ask them what Zionism is, they would answer that Zionism is the belief that there should be a Jewish state in Israel. This is what they will answer. Now, it's quite similar to what you've said, but what you said focused more on an idea of supremacy, like of Jewish supremacy, almost a biological supremacy. Okay, now, I guess you could argue that these two positions are philosophically quite close. It's a matter of what direction you're looking at it from. But most
There is a difference, I can see.
Yeah, but most Israelis, if you would ask them what Zionism is, they would just say the belief that there should be a Jewish state in Israel. This is what they would say. Now let's move on, and you tell me what you think the general Palestinian answer would be if you go in the street and ask a Palestinian what is Zionism. What is like the average answer?
Before that, I have a question.
Sure.
You know the nationality law that you have. This law is a Zionist one. I mean,
the law of return.
The most passionate people about that law about the state being a Jewish state.
Oh, okay, okay. I know what. Okay, now I know which one you mean. Yeah, it's something. If we
Yeah,
were to translate it into English, it's a law. I think it passed in, was it 2018? I think, and it says
I don't know when.
something that Israel is defined as the nation state of the Jewish people. That's the one you're referring to.
Yes, that
Okay,
one.
okay. Go on.
The most passionate ones about this law are the most Zionist ones in Israel, aren't they?
Okay, so here's the thing. When you say the most Zionists, I guess you mean the right wing.
Yes.
Okay, so
No, but
what
we
I
are
would.
talking about the term Zionism. We are talking about it, and
Okay,
you try to define it in a different way I did. That I did. So I'm trying to see which definition is more accurate.
okay. So I think I see the gap between us,
Mhm.
because what you've described as Zionism would probably is the answer that you would get if you asked the most right wing Israelis.
Mhm.
Like if you were to ask the average Israeli, you will get the answer I gave you, that it is the belief that there should be a Jewish state in Israel. Okay,
I would, but if we
if
hold a longer conversations, wouldn't they stand by the things that I said?
they might, they might,
Mhm.
but I think, okay. So here's the thing. You would have, for this idea of supremacy. Okay, it's something
Uh-huh.
that might be a little foreign to someone who comes from a Muslim perspective. And let me explain. Because any nation, essentially, has some sort of national supremacy. Okay, for example, in France, there was just an election. The right wing, has been ascended, and many people in France believe that people who are French should be citizens of the French nation, right? So
All right.
in the same way, Jews as a nation, okay, never mind the religion, because it's a lit. Jewishness is a little bit of a weird thing because it's an ethnicity and also a nationality and also a religion. It's this a
I
little
get
bit,
you. I get you.
yeah. So it makes sense to say that someone who is Jewish is a citizen of the Jewish nation, right? It makes sense. But
Uh-huh.
from a Muslim perspective, if I understand it correctly, nationalism doesn't play so much of a large role in Muslim thinking, right? Because in Muslim thinking, it doesn't matter so much. Well, at least it's not supposed to matter so much if you were born in Saudi Arabia or if you were born in Iraq, right?
True.
You're Muslim before your nationality. You are Muslim. In a
You know what? Yes, but I need to explain something. When you say in Islam, that's the problem. There are maybe 100 or 1,000 Islams in this world. There are a lot of understandings and fights and everything. So is no single Islam to point your finger at.
Okay, that's an interesting point.
But the point you addressed now is very common among Muslims.
Yeah, well, that's why I guess that's why most of the Muslim world cares so deeply about what's happening in Palestine, right?
Mhm.
But I would also
In
like
fact,
to.
a fight broke on Twitter maybe yesterday or the day before about this topic in particular. A famous Emirati guy posted that his nation, his country is more important than religion, and that putting religion on top is a poisonous idea.
Well,
And a lot of people attack him for it.
look, the Emiratis have
And some
actually been
people
quite
support him.
successful. The Emiratis have actually been quite successful compared to the other Muslim nations. And I think it makes sense, if I think about it, that they will want to distinguish themselves from the Muslim collective, because they would be thinking, wait, we're doing something here that works pretty well, right? So we would like to distinguish ourselves. But I wanted to come back to another thing that which our conversation, our previous topic has led to. I said that this idea of Muslim collectiveness, you might say, is part of the reason that the Arab world supports the Palestinians, like in mind, at least. But not just in the Arab world, by the way, also the Muslims who have emigrated into the West. But I also have another thing that I would like I would like to get your perspective on, and that is, there's this notion that I think many people might agree with, but I would like to hear what you have to say about this as a Palestinian, that many of the Arab countries, and not just the Arab countries, Iran as well, which is of course not Arab, actually used the Palestinians for many, many years. They used the Palestinians as a tool against their geopolitical enemy, which is Israel. For example, Gamal Abdel Nasser, the Egyptian president.
And I thought, no, I understand you.
Yeah, he was the one who, I guess, promoted at first, like the idea of using the Palestinian organizations against Israel. But he uses them as a tool, and he uses the organizations as a way to delegitimize and remove Israel, which is his geopolitical enemy. And the Palestinians are pieces on the chessboard that he uses, right? And this thing develops, and today it's Iran. You get Hamas doing whatever they do, and for Iran, what do the Iranians care about Palestinians dying? For them it's good. Every Palestinian who dies, for the Iranians, is a public relations win against Israel.
My opinion. Okay.
Yeah, so I would. That's something I would like to get your, what is your opinion about what I've just said? Like that many of the geopolitical players in the region use the Palestinians to get a small win against Israel on the public relation front, or as proxies and stuff like that.
I personally don't think that there is a single political body in this world that is ethical, that works based on morals. They all look for their own interests. Iran is not different, but a lot of Palestinians and Arabs in general think that the hate between Israel and Iran is a play, you might say, a lie. I don't think that it's true. There is a rivalry. They have contradicting interests in the region. So they genuinely hate Israel. But I do think that, they don't care about innocent civilians.
Who do you think Hamas cares about innocent civilians?
The word Hamas is even more complicated than the word Islam.
Tell me about that.
I don't think that they have a single mindset or even a single leadership. Haniya thinks on his own and Sinwar thinks on his own, and they, in the negotiations, for example, they contradict each other. Not just Haniya and Sinwar. What does Hamas want in the end? Do they want a full massacre, a bloodbath, or they do want 2 states, or do they want a single state? There is no single answer. I had many neighbors, friends, colleagues in university that were either joined with Hamas or sympathizers, and I usually ask them lots of questions. Everyone has his own answer.
I see. But okay, in Israel, many people believe that even if Hamas were to agree to a two-state solution and to drive towards a two-state solution, the only reason that he would be doing that is so that it will be a step on the way for the conquest of the rest of the country. What do you think about
They
that?
are they are right because it's the louder voice, you might say. More people in Hamas do think this way. But if the two states does happen, they obviously they wouldn't be able to invade Israel. And
What
after
makes you
maybe
say
10
that, though?
how would they do it, man?
How did they do
October
it?
7th was only a surprise attack. If Israel was ready, this wouldn't have worked out.
Yeah, but I guess the point of a surprise attack is that Israel won't be ready, right? So you can do it in the future, like just try again with Israel not being ready. I mean, I guess it's not that difficult. You have 365 days a year. Maybe 2-3 days is you have an opportunity in every year.
No, I think this is a one-time thing.
Come again?
It wouldn't surprise you again, would it?
I don't know. People,
Your military must be ready for the next time.
What? But in 50 years, we won't be surprised again. In 50 years, we won't forget. I will be probably dead or irrelevant, and people who remember this will not be. So,
I guess maybe, but how much damage can they do when they do have a state, a real state? The voices against a mad attack like this would be way stronger. Now that you are pushed in the corner, the radicals gain more power, they gain more support.
How do you feel
When
about
you have
October
something
7th, by the way? Be honest, I'm
the
not
real
gonna.
catastrophe. It's the real catastrophe. The 48 was a joke next to it.
Oh, wait, okay, so let's unpack this for a minute. When you say a real catastrophe, you mean that it's a catastrophe in the sense of how stupid the Palestinian leadership was to do such a thing? Is that what you mean?
Yes.
Okay, because as an Israeli, when I hear someone say that October 7th was a catastrophe, of course I think completely different things, right? So
I get you.
Yeah.
No, I don't agree with attacking civilians, of course. You know what? Before even talking about using violence or not, the first question would be, what do you want to achieve? What is your goal? The second thing is, how do you achieve it? So about Hamas, what do they want? As a step in their final goal, they want a two-state solution, as you said. But what is the final goal? They don't state, and that, of course, means maybe most of them or a lot of them do wish for a massacre. I mean, Israel does have the right to think this. So about what do I want? I wish we could have two-state solution, but I think it's almost impossible with all these settlements spread out in the West Bank. So maybe a federal state, a federal, what do you call it? A country with two states in it. I mean, local governments for Palestinians in their majority areas, local government for Israelis in their majority areas, and a federal government in Jerusalem. That would be the best case scenario for me.
Have you heard about
given what we have?
About the Emirates plan?
No, I haven't.
It's a plan presented by Dr. Mordechai Kedar, an Israeli Middle East scholar of Middle East studies.
I do know it.
You know it?
Yes, yes. He has an Arabic channel. I watched his proposal.
Okay, so
It's a
first,
joke.
it's a joke. Okay, so first tell us what the plan is, how you understand the plan, and then tell us why do you think it's a joke.
Okay, Dr. Mordechai thinks that the entire humanity consists of national states, but there is one spot on Earth where you can go back in time 100, 200 years and have tribes with the local laws, stateless, because they live in Israel and he doesn't like the idea of giving them citizenship. So this is the best thing that he can come up with. Let them rule themselves in a small emirates. Their sheikhs, their tribes leaders would rule over them in a local sense, but they will be subject to Israel. He doesn't frame it this way, but this is the real vision of him.
I see. And well, I guess in the way you described it, I can already see why do you think it's a bad idea, right? Because, okay, so so I'm going to go back to something that we've mentioned and how I've said to you, and it's a common thing. I've spoken to Palestinians before, and one thing that I always hear is that the Palestinians always say, well, I don't want to say always because I didn't speak to all Palestinians, but the Palestinians that I did speak to, what they say consistently is that if there were a two-state solution, the Palestinian state could never attack the Israeli state because it's too powerful. Okay? And
you have no plan.
Well, yeah, but well, of course, we're not going to, like, even in 73 when there was like a real danger of Israel falling, well, there wasn't really.
I think they thought about using it.
Okay, so, yeah, they did. They probably did. But many people think, and I actually, I buy this theory, that the reason that Israel spoke about using it is to panic the United States so that the United States will start sending weapons to Israel so that Israel won't use nukes.
Uh-huh.
Okay? Like it's a political maneuver, essentially. But because, okay, so anyway, nuke doesn't help you on an October 7th situation. And if there really was a Palestinian state, October 7th would be a joke. We could get
that's not true.
10 times October 7th.
Why?
Why?
No, man.
Because the ability of the Palestinian army to organize and deliver a much more effective assault would be greater. That's the first reason. The second reason is that I believe, at least, that you don't really have to conquer Israel entirely in one day. All you have to do is be sufficiently successful. And why do I say that? Because once you've crossed a certain threshold of success, well, I say, to me, that would be a catastrophe, but I mean success in the eyes of Hamas, okay? Once you've crossed a certain threshold of success, you would get this image in the Arab world that Israel is collapsing. That's by the way, that's what happened in 67. That's the reason Syria and Jordan joined the war, because Gamal Abdel Nasser was saying, "Oh, we are defeating the Jews, we're destroying them," and then the Jordanians and the Syrians joined in. Okay, so what I'm thinking is the same could happen with Hezbollah and Iran. Okay, Hamas doesn't have to completely dominate Israel. All it has to do is to be successful enough to make Hezbollah wake up and say, wait, we should also join from the north, and maybe the Houthis can join the celebration, and Iran can mobilize its militias from Iraq and also the militias that it's building right now in Jordan. Israel would be, I think, and I'm really sorry to say this because I know that you, well, it's not something that you would like to hear, but I think geopolitically, as long as the idea of resistance is so prevalent among the Palestinians, Israel would be insane to allow a Palestinian state next to it, which would be an existential threat to it. This is what I believe. So what do you think
I
about that?
understand you. I think as long as the occupation continues, the resistant mindset would even get stronger. And when a two-state solution happens, not everybody's minds would change in a second, but it would be a step for the right path. After a few generations, when you have a state and the Palestinians of 48 have their rights, nobody is persecuted. Why would you even start a war that would destroy our lives and yours for what?
Hamas
The
just
next
did.
generation,
But Hamas just showed that it's perfectly happy to do this.
I know. I mean, Hamas now has a very big support audience. If you have two states, we have something to lose, maybe less people would be radical. That's how I see it. I look at it. And you know what? I understand your point, and I think maybe you have the right to be concerned. It's okay if you try to prevent a Palestinian state from ever happening for those reasons. Okay, I understand it. But what is your alternative?
I don't know. I'm really, thinking out loud here. I was pointing at some very serious problems, obvious problems with it.
Uh,
I think
if
it's
I
a
was
little bit.
Israel,
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
and I had a very little moral compass, let's say, what would I do? You know, the settlements on the border, okay, keep them. The Jordan Valley is giving the Palestinians and Jordanians a gate between each other. Let's conquer it. But the middle of the West Bank, why not just give it to the Palestinians? Why separate them in separate islands?
I think
Give
the
them.
I
Okay.
think the Israeli
Mhm.
response to this would be that if you were to get out of there, you would get the Gaza situation. Like you went out of Gaza and you got basically a terrorist camp. Well, you would probably not say
Uh,
terrorist, but
if
from
you get, yes, it is a terrorist, obviously.
okay, well, no, it's not so obvious, right? Because from what I understand, many people in the West Bank wouldn't consider Hamas to be a terrorist organization. So you say that for you, obviously they're terrorists, but would you say that this is the common opinion surrounding you? You just told
No,
me
it's not.
that, yeah, you just told me that in
You know what?
university
We
you
keep
had many
jumping
friends.
between subjects, but okay.
Yeah, sorry.
Uh, no, it's not your fault. I do it too. In October 7th in the morning, I remember that day well. My WhatsApp was filled with videos of attacking military bases. And I saw maybe, what did I see? I saw footage of videos of Israelis filming Hamas fighters on top of cars with a machine gun
Yeah, it's Derot. I
marching
remember
in the
that one.
street. Yes, but I didn't see any kidnapping videos, any civilians getting injured, and the media would every 5 minutes they would give you a name of a military point that Hamas attacked. They killed this and this many soldiers.
Wait, what media
Then
are we
they
talking
post
about?
WhatsApp, WhatsApp
Ah,
groups.
okay, okay.
Facebook, it's impossible to have these types of
Yeah, of
things
course,
on
of
it, of
course.
course. I didn't have Telegram at the time. I downloaded it later.
Okay.
So yeah, this was the general idea in Palestinians' minds. If you ask me, doesn't they know that they attacked civilians? Yes, they do, but it's deep in the back of your head. You don't think about it that much. You know how human brains work.
Okay, so let's think about this for a second. Okay, let's say I'm a Palestinian. I
Mhm.
see that this attack on military bases, Hamas has attacked Israeli IDF military bases. You would call it IOF, but Hamas attacked military bases. Okay, and this makes me happy as a Palestinian because what? Like what would I like to see Hamas achieve? I would like to see them conquer Israel. What is the happiness? Where is it coming from? Why am I
Me
happy?
personally, me
You and all
personally,
others also.
I don't even support saying to an Israeli, I hate you verbally before stating what do I want. First, you set your demands, explain your goals. Then the second step would be how would you try to achieve it? Maybe I would support violence if I think it would achieve something, maybe diplomacy, maybe public disobedience, anything. We didn't even do the first step. We are divided on what we want. We don't have a single leadership. That's my personal opinion.
Well,
And I don't support attacking civilians with any justifications.
I'm going to rephrase my questions. Okay, my question for a second.
Okay.
I said, okay, let's ignore attacking civilians. Let's say that Hamas did not attack civilians, for the sake of discussion. It only attacked
Uh-huh.
military targets. Why does this make the average Palestinian happy? Like what? Because if the average Palestinian is happy, it means that this attack on military targets has advanced some sort of Palestinian hope, right? So what is the hope that
Sorry, I
has?
had a call.
Yeah, I saw. So what is the hope that the Palestinians, like? Why would I be happy that Hamas attacked a military target? What is the dream? The dream that Hamas will drive out the IDF? Like what is the fantasy? Seriously.
It's funny because I asked this question to too many people. And what I realized is that most people have never even thought about the question. They are surprised and they try to come up with something on the spot. Plus, I can change their minds very fastly.
Okay.
I mean, everyone wants to make the Jewish people go to wherever they went, wherever they came from. But it's easy to challenge this idea. I know you know that.
Yeah.
So whenever I explain the problem with this logic, they can get back a step. Some of them, no, some people even does want to have a bloodbath, to be honest, but not the majority. The majority of people dream of making the Jews go back to wherever they came from.
Yeah.
And when
Right.
they do, and this is impossible, I suggest the single state solution. Some do accept it, and some just stay confused. I don't know.
Okay. So I'd like to ask you another question then. The
No, back to the first question. Why would they be happy
okay.
that Hamas attacked? I don't think that most people's minds are that uh, well established.
Okay,
People are just emotional. They attack the enemy. We got them this time. That's all.
I see. Okay, and I'm going to ask. Okay, I'll propose some theory, and you tell me what you think about that. I think that Hamas, part of its strategy, at least you said that Hamas has many leaderships. I meaning I'm right now. I mean the leadership that is in Gaza. Okay, I think that it is beneficial, strategically beneficial for Hamas to have as many Palestinians die as possible. And I think that for Israel, it is not beneficial strategically to have as many Palestinians die as possible. Should I elaborate on that, or does that seem obvious to you? I'm just wondering where we stand here.
I need to stop the conversation
Sure.
for a few minutes and can get you
Yeah, sure.
later.
Okay. Okay, so it seems I lost Ahmed. He lost access to his internet connection for some reason, but let's see if I can get him back. And if I can't, well, I guess that's all we get. But I still think it's been an insightful conversation, pretty useful to have. I hope you guys agree as well. And, well, if I can't get him back, then that's it. And thank you so much for watching and listening.